Welcome to this Athletic Director U exclusive. I'm Jim Cavell, the founder and CEO of INFLCR, and I'm joined today by Michael Kelly, who's the Athletic Director at the University of South Florida. And Michael, we're here at NACDA. There's a lot going on. I really appreciate you making time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's a big, great event each year to have so many people in town, and to be down the road here in Orlando has been great for us too.
Well, where I want to start is not in Florida. It's actually a little bit west of here in Dallas, where a startup happened about a half a dozen years ago. And that startup is the college football playoff. And I call it a startup because that's really what it is and what it was, but a lot of people don't know that because it's in this big, huge market and industry of college football here in America. Talk to me about the beginnings of the CFP and how you were able to put together the team and the plan to make it what it is today.
Well, you know, it was really it's been a real blessing and a real pleasure of my career to date to have that opportunity to be a part of that team to build that. I remember basically it was Mr. Hancock, of course, and then the commissioners themselves that were a subcommittee that hired me and gave me the opportunity to be chief operating officer of that. And it was just an incredible opportunity. You know, sometimes you think about when you're in jobs that a blank slate would be just so great, and it is, but it's also pretty daunting to kind of know, hey, you're starting from scratch. You're expected to have something that's iconic from the very beginning, and you kind of go about it. But like a lot of things, a lot of projects I've been a part of, whether it's the 3 different Super Bowls I've helped lead as a host committee or the Final Four, you know, this was something to build from scratch, and you had to build it right, and it was just a great process.
So I'm a startup founder, but the difference is when I started INFLCR, nobody really was watching. I had to make it into a brand from scratch. For you guys at the CFP, everybody was watching. And so even though you're a startup, you had a microscope on everything you were doing. And what I really enjoyed was the ability to have a multimedia approach, both on traditional medias with, you know, the deal with ESPN, but also having digital presence and social presence. What was the intention there? How did that develop and become as great as it is?
Well, the whole thing was truly a startup, as you mentioned. So everything from finding the location where we're housed to finding internet to building up all the staff, job descriptions, hiring the staff. And in my particular role, it was all about selecting and working with the New Year's Six Bowls, who would serve as the roles for semifinals, and then ultimately putting together all the intricacies of our business plan, our sponsorships, our trophy, our brand, our logo, and then all the activities that surround the national championship weekend itself. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of things to go through, and it starts with listening, frankly, just like I'm kind of doing right now in my current job. And you had to listen to pretty much every expert in college football because you knew you had to get it right. And so we talked to the coaches, we talked to the student athletes, we talked to the band directors, we talked to the football ops guys, the equipment people, the trainers, because it was so new for everyone to figure out how are you going to go from, they had all had a climax type of a bowl game maybe that they ended in, but now you're going to play twice. Your goal and your focus is to have 2, and to have this whole new New Year's Six concept as well, and how do they all fit in, and how do they get promoted. So the long story short, it was listening to everybody so you could try to put the best game plan forward, as you said, so you had it right from the very beginning. And then to have that translate to the general public and to kind of become the success that it has in terms of business-wise, you needed good partners. And you needed to start, of course, with ESPN to help us not only broadcast just a high-quality broadcast that they did so well in all the games, but the promotional engine that they provided to not only help put our brand out there. For instance, the deal when we came up with the logo and the trophy, you know, having the sponsorship association with Dr. Pepper kind of launched a whole campaign that Dr. Pepper helped us with. ESPN obviously did a lot to promote it with our trophy tour that went around the country that Dr. Pepper sponsored. And that was just one example of how we could try to find ways to use our partnerships and our to help grow the brand. So that's how we did it through traditional means. And then, as you mentioned, we had a great staff, really led by Gina Leahy on our staff at CFP that had a chance to work hand in hand with to try to figure out how do we find both to build our social media platforms, to build our communications plan that she and Bill Hancock did so effectively. And so it was a good combination of grassroots, old school communications, but then using all the different social media and digital media techniques that we had to make it grow.
Amazing story. So let's translate it now to your current job. You're leading the athletics department at the University of South Florida. This is a department with a lot of tradition and a great conference, the American, in the group of 5 realm, but Power 6, that's the American, right? So talk about how you approached this position as you came over to Tampa to take this role with all that experience and that context from the last 6+ years at the CFP.
Sure, and for me, first to even come, in my case, back to South Florida, because I was an associate AD there under Leroy Selman when he was the athletic director back in 2000, 2001. So in some ways it was kind of coming back home, kind of felt called to be back there to kind of continue on some of the great trajectory of success the university's had. It also appealed to me that it's a relatively young university. It wasn't founded until 1956. We didn't start playing football until 1997. So great success so far, but it's still so much to be able to build on and grow. And I think between, like I said before in my career, it's been kind of how do you build things up, how do you grow things, and whether it was small movements for the Super Bowl efforts in those cities or the CFP or being a part at the ACC when I was there to help build the football championship and other things that we were able to do at that time. So to me, it just feels like a big opportunity to build on an awesome foundation at USF and make it grow to unprecedented heights.
So you can't build anything great without an amazing team. That's the key, right? Absolutely. You got to have great people. And so I want to give you a scenario. You've got a leadership position, a senior associate AD position you're hiring for, and you've got 3 candidates, and it's come down to a dead heat. Everybody's kind of like, I don't know what to do. These candidates are so great. How do you make a decision in that scenario?
That's great, and we've been really fortunate to have that type of, as opportunities have come up at USF, we've had great pools and great people that wanted to be a part of it, and so that scenario has come up.
Sure.
And for me, in this stage where resources might not be as plentiful as some of the other P6 schools or other things, that we've got enough, but do we have what others have? And you've got to be creative and energetic and find people that want to be in it. And I guess that's what I would say. The differentiating factor has been who believes in our vision, who isn't afraid to roll their sleeves up and is all in and can share, can demonstrate that passion and that vision as much as possible in that interview process. So for me, it's been all about that grit, that fit, and ultimately showing me the most that they want to be a part of what we're building at USF.
That's awesome. All right, let's translate over to social again. You are very active, especially on Twitter. I was just joking with you about your quote or your question about concert tickets that I saw the other day. But I love it. You clearly are using your voice on social. You're doing your tweets, and I think that's what makes social media so special, authenticity. I noticed that when you tweet, you have intention not just about USF and the brand and the Horns Up movement that's going on in all the different sports, but also about the city of Tampa. You really linked the program even more so to the city of Tampa. And like you said, you've come back home, you know the city well, you've been there before. Talk about your philosophy with your social medias personally.
Well, I do love and know what it can mean, and I love what social media can do to kind of help expand a brand. And in our case, I feel it's just something that's absolutely, not only do I agree with it and look for ways to make it work, in our growth stage, I think it's absolutely essential at USF that someone in my position does that. And to your point, I know we're only going to grow to where we all envision that we're going to be if we can totally kind of capture the imagination of the entire Tampa Bay marketplace. And we've done that at different peaks and valleys of our time. When we started, we had a sold-out house for football, and we had won 87-7 in our first game. We reached number 2 in the country at a certain time and had it sold out, and Raymond James was up. And so we know it can be there, and we know that those times the Tampa Bay's community have been behind us. But we're a huge economic engine as a university in the Tampa Bay area. But I don't think we've probably done everything we can to engage back with the community. So it's important to me to kind of point out all the great things about Tampa, to show the different events that we can be a part of, and to get the Bull U brand, if you will, expanded everywhere we can in the Tampa marketplace. So you're going to start seeing us a lot more in terms of our branding, just being out in front of everybody. We've got a partnership with the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are kind of our main marketing sponsorship sales team. So they've done an amazing job with that in the last 5 or 6 years about capturing the Tampa Bay marketplace. And we intend to kind of ride that same type of path on the way to do that. So we're just excited to be Tampa Bay's team, and we're going to keep growing that.
I love it. So org chart wise, social media, the advent of non-traditional media, people consuming more sports on their phone every day than they do on the TV or in the stadium, has become more of a reality. Even when you're in a stadium, you look around in the stands and you see people literally going through their feed as they're trying to watch the plays, right? So that second screen is real. It's given way to a lot of new roles in athletic departments that didn't even exist 5 years ago. Talk about your org chart and how you're supporting initiatives and people that have to do with this social media aspect of USF and how you're owning it as being really your own media network on social.
Oh, no doubt. I think it's vital for all athletic departments, particularly one like ours, that you basically are a media company. You've got to find ways to get your own messaging out as the traditional media industry is having its own challenges and its own growth, its own pains of downsizing. We have to fill that void. And so I've been really fortunate between my time at the ACC and the time at the CFP to be exposed and be partners with so many colleges, really every college across the country to some extent, and have kind of seen how, before I got this position, how people have kind of grown that. And so we're trying to kind of learn from all the best out there and try to find what fits and suits us. But some of the things we've changed, of course, that, one of the things I think that separates college athletics from the pros and other things is just the amazing stories that exist with all of our coaches and all the amazing student athletes and where they come from. And it's that storytelling that kind of creates that bond, in my opinion, with the fan base. Not only the alums, but ones that want to give me a reason why you should support the Bulls. Well,
right.
It's because these kids are from the Tampa Bay area. These kids are making their lives better and all that sort of thing. So to be able to tell those stories about those 475 student athletes are something that we've only scratched the surface on. And so we've got a whole team dedicated that we've kind of grown and specialized in terms of our Bulls Vision group to focus on telling those stories, bringing them to life in video. We've expanded, or in the process of expanding our graphic design team, just like everybody has. You got to kind of create a visual effect for everything that you do. We were one of the first in the country to kind of establish a 24/7 audio channel, if you will, a digital audio channel. It's Bulls Unlimited on the iHeartRadio app. So we've got a show that's on 24/7 that our fans can not only listen to archive games, live games, but we've got folks that are just putting out content all the time, interviews, everything that we've got. So I do my own podcast. We've got obviously our website through what we do with Sidearm. Obviously, we've expanded what we do, obviously thanks to you and all the unique platforms that Influencer brings to us to be able to get our student athletes to be not only expand their brand, which is important to help grow their brand for their futures, but also the USF brand. And the way we were able to instantaneously bring photos of them being in the games and other things that they're doing around campus with your platform has really helped us a ton this past year as well. So all those are just examples of ways that we're trying to kind of get where we need to be with our structure, and it all kind of funnels through our communications department led by Brian Segrist, and ultimately through our senior associate for external, Meredith Skirba, who has had a great career of leading events, kind of similar to me, but also being the leader of the community relations efforts of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in recent years as well. So everyone that can kind of be all in on Tampa can kind of ignite the passion for the Bulls in our area and use the right platforms to do it.
I love it. And you talk about those 475 student athletes. As you know, many of your recruits that'll be future student athletes are following them. And it's always interesting to watch athletic departments who truly put the student athlete first and help them tell their story, help them build their brand, because it really is rising tides lifts all boats. Would you agree that them telling their story is helping USF tell its story at the same time?
Oh yeah, I tell them I've only had the first opportunity last year when I was had a chance to meet them and greet them back to introduce myself and
Yeah.
greet them to campus, and it was my message was really to say that this is the more we want to help you with your personal brand for everything that's going to mean to your future, and the more that we associate greatness with your personal brand and with the brand of the Bull U is the way to kind of make that happen. The stronger our brand's going to be, the better you're going to do, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And by providing them the tools and the guidance and the freedom to do that is something that we're very excited about. And I think you can see that in recent months. You can see the morale and the momentum amongst our teams, both in team units and kind of universally amongst the 475 kind of athletes supporting athletes type of a movement, I think is really good. And when your fans see that cohesiveness amongst your coaches, your student athletes, and with your staff as a whole, then they start to feel the movement. And that's what I think we're starting to see here at USF.
I love it. Michael, thank you so much for taking time to talk with me on camera and, bestow the tutelage to the athletic director community that you've given, because you had a lot of great experiences, and people want to learn, you're a great guy to learn from, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's an amazing job to have an opportunity to be an athletic director. You get to touch so many lives and have that type of impact. And so I'm learning from a lot of ADs out there, and I love what we have a chance to do each and every day. And thanks to Influencer for everything you do.
Thanks, brother.
All right, thanks.